Puppy left on roadside finds forever home with kind family. Their journey will move you. How will this story unfold? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. It was a warm spring afternoon when the world seemed in full bloom, but for a small golden-furred puppy, the day held no beauty. He sat trembling on the side of a country road, the buzz of passing cars startling him each time they zoomed by. His tiny frame barely visible amidst the tall grass. He looked like nothing more than a rust-colored blur in a field of green. His eyes, large and round, brimmed with confusion and fear as he whimpered softly. The puppy didn't understand why he had been left here, in a place so unfamiliar and so loud. He could still see the face of the person who had carried him out of a car, setting him down with a pat on the head before walking away without looking back. He had tried to follow, but the door slammed shut before he could reach it. When the car roared to life and sped off, he was left alone, his paws planted on the gravel as he watched it disappear down the road. For hours, the puppy remained rooted to the spot, waiting for the car to return. His tiny stomach growled, and his throat grew dry from crying out. He didn't know where he was or where he should go. All he knew was that he was alone. The occasional passerby noticed him, but none stopped, and the puppy's heart sank further with each missed glance. Miles away, in a small suburban home, a family was preparing for their weekend plans. Lucy, a 9-year-old with a head full of dark curls and an endless well of curiosity, was buzzing with excitement as she and her parents prepared to head to the countryside for a day of exploring. Her father, Tom, loaded their car with a picnic basket, while her mother, Claire, filled water bottles and snacks. "Don't forget your sketchbook, Lucy," Claire called from the kitchen. Lucy dashed back into the house, returning moments later with her prized possession, a worn notebook filled with sketches of animals she'd encountered on her adventures. She had a habit of naming every creature she drew, from squirrels to stray cats, each one finding a special place in her imaginative world. As they set off down the winding roads that led to the countryside, Lucy pressed her face to the window, watching the trees blur into a green haze. She loved these trips, the promise of fresh air, open fields, and maybe even a chance to spot a deer or two. But today, something else was waiting for them. As they rounded a bend, Lucy's sharp eyes caught sight of a small, golden shape in the grass. "Dad, stop the car," she shouted, her voice high with urgency. Tom hit the brakes, pulling over to the side of the road. "What is it, Lucy?" "I think I saw a dog," she said, already unbuckling her seatbelt. Without waiting for permission, she opened the door and ran toward the spot where she had seen the tiny figure. Claire and Tom followed, concern etched on their faces. As they approached, the puppy looked up at them, his ears flattening against his head in a mixture of fear and hope. Lucy crouched down, extending a hand toward him. "It's okay, little guy," she said softly. "We're not going to hurt you." The puppy hesitated, his body tensed as if ready to bolt. But something in Lucy's voice calmed him, and he took a tentative step forward, sniffing her outstretched fingers. When she gently stroked his fur, he let out a soft whimper, leaning into her touch as if he hadn't been petted in days. "He's so thin," Claire said, her heart breaking at the sight of the puppy's ribs showing through his fur. "We can't just leave him here." Tom nodded. "Let's get him into the car. We'll figure out what to do next." Lucy scooped the puppy into her arms, holding him close as they walked back to the car. The puppy buried his nose in her shirt, his tiny body trembling with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. In the back seat, Lucy cradled him like a baby, whispering to him as if to reassure him that he was safe now. When they arrived home, the family immediately set to work making the puppy comfortable. Claire poured water into a bowl while Tom prepared a small plate of cooked chicken. Lucy stayed by the puppy's side, watching as he cautiously sniffed the food before devouring it with surprising speed. "What should we call him?" Lucy asked, her eyes bright with excitement. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," Tom said. "We need to check if he has an owner first. He might have a family looking for him." But deep down, Lucy hoped that wasn't the case. She had already started to think of the puppy as hers. "He doesn't have a collar," she pointed out, "and he was all alone out there. What if nobody's looking for him?" "We'll put up some posters and ask around," Claire said gently. "But for now, we'll take care of him." Lucy nodded, but she couldn't help feeling a spark of hope. What if this puppy was meant to be part of their family? Over the next few days, the puppy began to settle in. He quickly grew attached to Lucy, following her around the house and curling up at her feet whenever she sat down. She named him Rusty, inspired by the golden hue of his fur, and he responded to the name as if he had always been called that. Despite Tom and Claire's efforts to find Rusty's owner, no one came forward. The posters they put up went unanswered, and inquiries at the local shelters turned up nothing. It became clear that Rusty didn't belong to anyone, or, as Lucy liked to think, he was waiting for the right family to find him. "I think he was meant to be with us," Lucy said one evening as they sat in the living room. Rusty sprawled across her lap. "Don't you think so, Dad?" Tom smiled, watching the way Rusty's tail thumped against the couch whenever Lucy spoke. "I think he's happy here," he admitted. "And I think we are, too." The decision was made, and Rusty officially became part of the family. Over time, his timid demeanor transformed into one of confidence and joy. He loved chasing Lucy around the backyard, rolling in the grass, and curling up with her at night as she sketched in her notebook. Rusty also had a knack for bringing the family closer together. Evening walks became a cherished routine, with all three of them taking turns holding his leash. On weekends, they ventured to new trails and parks, exploring the world together as a team. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Rusty was the way he seemed to understand the emotions of those around him. When Lucy was upset, he would rest his head on her lap, his big brown eyes filled with empathy. When Claire came home after a long day at work, Rusty would greet her with an enthusiasm that melted away her stress. And when Tom needed quiet companionship, Rusty was always there, sitting by his side without a sound. One sunny afternoon, Lucy decided to take Rusty on an adventure to the nearby meadow. It had become one of their favorite spots, a place where wildflowers bloomed in a riot of colors and birds sang from the treetops. Rusty's boundless energy was on full display as he bounded through the tall grass, his tail wagging like a flag in the wind. "Look at him, Mom," Lucy called, laughing as Rusty chased a butterfly. "He's so happy." Claire watched from a blanket spread out under a tree, a smile tugging at her lips. "I think he's found his favorite place," she said, snapping a picture of Rusty with her phone. Lucy picked up her sketchbook, capturing the scene in quick, confident strokes. She had started a new series of drawings inspired by Rusty, each one showing him in different settings. A knight defending a castle, a superhero saving the day, a sailor navigating stormy seas. In her mind, Rusty wasn't just a dog. He was a hero. "Do you think Rusty knows he's special?" Lucy asked, tilting her head as she studied her latest sketch. "I think he knows he's loved," Claire replied. "And that's what matters most." As the weeks turned into months, Rusty's presence in the family grew more profound. He seemed to have an uncanny ability to bring light to even the darkest days. When Lucy's friend moved away, leaving her feeling lonely and out of sorts, it was Rusty who stayed by her side, nuzzling her hand and coaxing her into play. When Claire sprained her ankle and had to rest for a week, Rusty became her loyal companion, rarely leaving her side. Even Tom, who had initially been hesitant about keeping a dog, found himself smitten. Rusty had a way of sitting quietly at his feet during late-night work sessions, his warm presence a reminder that he wasn't alone. "He's a good boy," Tom admitted one evening, scratching Rusty behind the ears. "The best boy, really." One day, Lucy's school announced a community art contest. The theme was companionship, and Lucy knew immediately what she wanted to create. She spent hours poring over her sketchbook, pulling out her best drawings of Rusty and turning them into a collage that told their story. From the moment they found him on the roadside to the happy life they shared now. When the day of the contest arrived, Lucy's heart pounded as she stood in front of her display, waiting for the judges to make their rounds. Rusty had come along, wearing a red bandana that Lucy had tied around his neck for the occasion. He sat patiently at her feet, his tail wagging softly as people stopped to admire the artwork. "Is this your dog?" an older woman asked, pointing to the centerpiece of Lucy's collage, a drawing of Rusty sitting proudly in the meadow. "Yes," Lucy said, beaming. "His name is Rusty. We found him by the side of the road." The woman smiled, her eyes softening. "He's lucky to have you," she said. "And you're lucky to have him." When the winners were announced, Lucy's collage won first place. The prize was a gift certificate to the local pet store, which Lucy immediately decided to spend on treats and toys for Rusty. But what mattered most to her wasn't the prize. It was the chance to share Rusty's story with others, to show them the magic of finding love and companionship in the most unexpected places. As time went on, Rusty continued to thrive. He grew from a timid, underfed puppy into a strong, confident dog, his golden coat shining like the sun. He became a fixture in the neighborhood, known and loved by everyone he met. Children stopped to pet him on their way to school, and neighbors often commented on his gentle demeanor and expressive eyes. But for Lucy, Rusty was more than just a pet. He was her best friend. He was there for every milestone, every tear, every moment of joy. On her 10th birthday, he sat by her side as she blew out the candles on her cake, his tail wagging in anticipation of the small slice she had saved for him. On her first day of middle school, he walked her to the bus stop, sitting patiently until the bus pulled away. "Do you think he knows how much we love him?" Lucy asked one evening as she lay on the couch, Rusty curled up beside her. Claire smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lucy's face. "I think he feels it every day," she said. "And I think he loves us just as much." One evening, as the family sat together on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Rusty suddenly perked up. His ears twitched, and he let out a soft bark, his eyes fixed on the road. "What is it, boy?" Tom asked, following Rusty's gaze. A car had pulled over to the side of the road, its hazard lights flashing. A man stepped out, looking around as if searching for something. Rusty barked again, his tail wagging furiously. "Do you think he recognizes the car?" Claire asked, her brow furrowing. Lucy shook her head. "I don't think so, but he seems excited." The family exchanged curious glances as Rusty stood up, his tail wagging like a metronome. Without hesitation, he trotted toward the edge of the yard, his nose working overtime as he sniffed the air. The man by the car seemed to notice him and knelt down, holding out a hand as if to invite Rusty over. "Should we go see what's going on?" Claire asked, already getting up from her chair. "Rusty seems to think it's important," Tom agreed, standing as well. Lucy was already halfway down the porch steps, her sketchbook tucked under her arm as she hurried to follow Rusty. By the time they reached the roadside, Rusty was sitting in front of the man, his head tilted curiously. The man looked up as the family approached, a sheepish smile on his face. "Hi there," he said, standing and brushing the dirt off his jeans. "I didn't mean to bother you. My car broke down, and I was just trying to figure out where I might be able to get some help." "Oh, that's no problem at all," Claire said warmly. "We can call someone for you, or Tom here might be able to take a look. He's pretty handy with cars." "That's kind of you," the man said, visibly relieved. "I was worried I'd be stuck out here for hours." While Tom and the man worked on the car, Lucy sat cross-legged on the grass with Rusty beside her. She pulled out her sketchbook, quickly capturing the scene. Rusty's curious expression as he watched the two men, the fading sunlight casting long shadows across the road. "He's quite the artist's muse, isn't he?" the man commented, glancing over as he wiped his hands on a rag. Lucy grinned. "He's the best. Rusty's the reason I started drawing animals in the first place." "Rusty, huh?" the man said, crouching down to scratch behind Rusty's ears. "You're a good boy, aren't you?" Rusty barked softly in agreement, his tail thumping against the ground. As it turned out, the man's car needed a part that would have to be ordered, so he ended up staying for dinner while waiting for a tow truck. Over plates of spaghetti and garlic bread, he shared stories about his travels and how he had grown up in a small town not far from here. "You know," he said, pausing to take a sip of iced tea, I used to have a dog that looked a lot like Rusty. His name was Max, and he was my best friend growing up." Lucy's eyes lit up. "What happened to him?" "He lived a good, long life," the man said, his voice softening. "I still miss him every day, but seeing Rusty brings back some good memories." After the tow truck arrived and the man had left, the family sat together in the living room, reflecting on the unexpected encounter. "It's funny, isn't it?" Claire mused. "How Rusty seems to know when someone needs a little bit of kindness." "He's got a big heart," Lucy agreed, stroking Rusty's fur. "Just like Max must have had." Tom chuckled. "Well, I'd say we hit the jackpot when we found this guy." Rusty let out a contented sigh, as if he understood every word. The next morning, Rusty was back to his usual antics, chasing squirrels in the yard and bringing Lucy sticks that he insisted were treasures. But something about the previous evening lingered in Lucy's mind. She couldn't stop thinking about the man's stories of Max and how much Rusty had brightened his day. "I want to do something special for Rusty," Lucy announced at breakfast. "To show him how much we love him." "What do you have in mind?" Claire asked. Lucy's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I'm gonna make him a new bandana. One that's even better than the red one." For the next few days, Lucy poured her energy into the project. She picked out fabric that matched Rusty's golden fur and embroidered his name in bold, colorful letters. She added little designs around the edges, paw prints, hearts, and even a small bone. When it was finally finished, she couldn't wait to show it to Rusty. She knelt in front of him, holding up the bandana like a prized treasure. "What do you think, Rusty?" Rusty tilted his head, his eyes bright with curiosity. Lucy carefully tied the bandana around his neck, stepping back to admire her work. "You look amazing," she said, beaming. Claire snapped a picture capturing the moment. "That's one stylish pup," she said. A few days later, Lucy entered a photo of Rusty wearing his new bandana into another community contest. This time, it was a pet photography competition, and the theme was Companions for Life. When the results were announced, Rusty's picture won first place. The prize was a donation to a local animal shelter in Rusty's name, which the family gladly accepted. They visited the shelter to drop off the donation, bringing along a bag of Rusty's favorite treats to share with the animals there. As they walked through the shelter, Rusty seemed to understand the significance of the moment. He sniffed at the cages, wagging his tail at the dogs and cats inside, as if to reassure them that they, too, would find their forever homes. Rusty's journey from a scared, abandoned puppy to a beloved member of the family was nothing short of miraculous. He had brought so much love and joy into their lives, and in return, they had given him a home where he could thrive. For Lucy, Rusty was more than just a dog. He was a symbol of hope, kindness, and the power of second chances. And as she sketched yet another picture of him in her notebook, she knew that their story was far from over. The bond between Rusty and the family only grew stronger with time. Each day brought new adventures, whether it was exploring the nearby woods, playing fetch in the backyard, or simply lounging together on the porch during warm summer evenings. Rusty had a way of making even the simplest moments feel special. One afternoon, as the family was enjoying a picnic in the yard, Rusty suddenly perked up, his ears swiveling toward the road. A delivery truck was pulling into the driveway, and Rusty dashed over to greet it, barking excitedly. "What did you order this time, Claire?" Tom teased as he got up to meet the driver. "It's a surprise," Claire said with a mischievous grin. She had been planning something for weeks, and now it was finally here. The delivery driver handed Tom a large, flat package, and Rusty sniffed at it curiously. "You'll see," Claire said, waving everyone over. "Open it up." Tom carefully unwrapped the package, revealing a beautifully framed portrait of Rusty. The painting captured every detail of his golden fur, his expressive eyes, and the red bandana he had worn the day they found him. It was as if the artist had painted not just his likeness, but his spirit as well. "Wow," Lucy whispered, her eyes wide. "It's perfect." Rusty seemed to sense that the painting was of him. He barked happily and wagged his tail, circling the family as they admired the artwork. "It's our way of honoring him," Claire said, wiping away a tear. "He's given us so much. This is just a little something to show how much he means to us." The portrait found its place on the living room wall, right above the fireplace. It became a centerpiece of the family's home, a constant reminder of the day Rusty came into their lives and changed everything. But Rusty's impact wasn't limited to their family. His story continued to inspire the community. Neighbors often stopped by to visit him, bringing treats and sharing stories about their own pets. Rusty had a way of bringing people together, creating connections where there had been none before. One day, the family received a letter from the local newspaper. A reporter had heard about Rusty's journey and wanted to feature him in an article. The family agreed, and soon a photographer and journalist arrived to document Rusty's story. The article, titled "From Abandoned to Adored: The Heartwarming Tale of Rusty," was published a week later. It included photos of Rusty at the shelter, in his bandana, and with the family. The story quickly gained attention, spreading beyond the town to neighboring communities. Letters and emails poured in from people who had been touched by Rusty's journey. Many shared their own stories of rescuing animals or finding companionship in unlikely places. The family was overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support. "It's amazing," Claire said one evening as they read through the messages. "Rusty's story is making a difference in so many lives." "He's a little celebrity now," Lucy said, scratching Rusty behind the ears. "But he's still our Rusty." As time went on, the family decided to channel the attention into something meaningful. They organized a fundraiser for the animal shelter, using Rusty's story as the centerpiece. The event included a photo booth, a pet adoption fair, and a silent auction featuring artwork and crafts made by local artists. Rusty, of course, was the star of the show. He greeted everyone with his signature wagging tail and even posed for photos with other dogs and their owners. The fundraiser was a huge success, raising enough money to renovate the shelter and provide care for dozens of animals in need. Years passed, but Rusty remained the heart of the family. He grew older, his fur tinged with gray, but his spirit never wavered. He continued to bring joy and comfort to everyone around him, proving that love and kindness could transform even the most difficult circumstances. For Lucy, Rusty was more than a pet. He was her muse, her confidant, and her best friend. Her sketches of him filled countless notebooks, each one a testament to their unbreakable bond. And as the family sat together one evening, flipping through old photo albums and reminiscing about the day they found Rusty, they knew one thing for certain. He had rescued them just as much as they had rescued him. As the years rolled on, Rusty continued to be the heart and soul of the family, but his influence extended far beyond the cozy walls of their home. His story of resilience, love, and second chances had inspired not only their small town but people from all walks of life. The family's decision to help the local animal shelter grow had a ripple effect. After the fundraiser's success, the shelter began seeing a significant increase in adoptions. The funds raised during the event allowed the facility to expand, creating a new wing specifically for abandoned and injured animals like Rusty. They even named the wing Rusty's Haven, a touching tribute to the dog who had transformed so many lives. Claire and Tom found themselves more involved with the shelter than they ever anticipated. What started as occasional visits to drop off supplies turned into weekly volunteer shifts. Lucy often joined them, her sketchbook in hand, capturing the expressions of hopeful animals waiting for their forever homes. Rusty became a regular at the shelter too, acting as an unofficial ambassador. It was as if he understood the role he was playing. He would walk gently through the kennels, stopping to sniff or nuzzle the animals who seemed the most scared. Rusty's calm and kind presence worked wonders, helping even the most anxious animals open up and trust again. One rainy Saturday, Claire received an urgent call from the shelter's director, Maggie. "We've got a situation," Maggie said, her voice trembling. "A litter of puppies was abandoned in a box by the highway. They're soaking wet and terrified. Can you bring Rusty? I think his presence might help calm them." Without hesitation, Claire bundled Rusty into the car, and Lucy joined them. They arrived at the shelter to find Maggie cradling a shivering puppy, her eyes full of worry. "They're only a few weeks old," Maggie explained. "We've dried them off, but they're frightened and refuse to eat." Rusty approached the box where the puppies were huddled. Slowly, he lay down beside it, his warm body radiating a sense of safety. One by one, the puppies peeked out, their tiny noses sniffing the air. Rusty stayed still, his tail wagging gently. And then, as if by some unspoken understanding, the puppies climbed out of the box and nestled against Rusty's side. The room fell silent as everyone watched the magical moment unfold. The puppies, who had been trembling with fear, were now calm, their tiny bodies rising and falling in sync with Rusty's steady breathing. Over the next few weeks, the shelter staff worked tirelessly to care for the puppies. Rusty continued to play a crucial role, visiting them daily and acting as their surrogate parent. He taught them how to play, how to trust, and most importantly, how to love. Word of Rusty's incredible bond with the puppies spread quickly. A local news station picked up the story, featuring a segment called "The Gentle Giant and His Pack." The footage of Rusty with the puppies melted hearts, and soon, the shelter was flooded with adoption inquiries. Lucy, ever the artist, decided to create a series of portraits of Rusty and the puppies. Each painting captured a unique moment. Rusty teaching the puppies to chase a ball, cuddling with them during nap time, and even patiently enduring their playful antics. The series was displayed in a local gallery, with all proceeds going to the shelter. One by one, the puppies found loving homes, but Rusty's legacy continued to grow. Inspired by his story, more people in the community began adopting and fostering animals. The once overlooked shelter became a beacon of hope, a place where animals and people alike could find second chances. The family couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come since that fateful day by the roadside. Rusty had been a scared, abandoned dog then, but now he was a symbol of everything good in the world: compassion, resilience, and the power of love. Lucy often reflected on the profound impact Rusty had on her own life. Her artwork, which had once been a private hobby, was now a thriving career. She had even been commissioned to create a mural at the shelter, a vibrant piece that depicted Rusty surrounded by animals he had helped. The mural became a focal point of the shelter, inspiring visitors and reminding them of the incredible things that could happen when someone opened their heart. As Rusty entered his twilight years, the family made every moment count. They took him on new adventures, from camping trips in the mountains to lazy days by the lake. Rusty, ever the explorer, reveled in the sights and smells of each new place, his spirit as vibrant as ever. One summer evening, as the family sat around a campfire, Lucy began sketching Rusty. The golden hues of the setting sun illuminated his face, and she was struck by the wisdom and kindness in his eyes. It was a bittersweet moment, a reminder of how much time had passed and how deeply Rusty had embedded himself in their lives. "I don't know what we would have done without him," Lucy said softly, her pencil moving across the page. "He's not just a part of our family. He's shaped who we are." Rusty's influence extended far beyond the family and the shelter. His story continued to inspire countless people through the articles, videos, and artwork that chronicled his journey. Strangers from all over the world wrote to the family, sharing how Rusty's story had given them hope during difficult times. One letter in particular stood out. It was from a woman who had recently lost her husband and was struggling to find purpose. After reading about Rusty, she decided to adopt a senior dog from her local shelter. "Rusty showed me that it's never too late for a fresh start," she wrote. "He's reminded me that love and joy can be found in the most unexpected places." Back at home, Rusty's portrait above the fireplace took on an almost sacred quality. It was more than just a piece of art. It was a symbol of everything they held dear: family, resilience, and the belief that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world. As the seasons changed and Rusty grew older, the family remained by his side, cherishing every moment. They knew that someday, Rusty's journey would come to an end, but his legacy would live on in the countless lives he had touched. One crisp autumn morning, the family decided to visit a nearby apple orchard, one of Rusty's favorite places. The golden leaves crunched underfoot as the family walked through the rows of trees, their laughter filling the air. Rusty, now moving slower but still full of enthusiasm, sniffed at the baskets of freshly picked apples, his tail wagging as Lucy handed him a small slice to taste. "This place always reminds me of the day we brought Rusty home," Claire said, her voice filled with nostalgia. "It feels like a lifetime ago, but at the same time, like it just happened yesterday." Tom nodded, kneeling to scratch behind Rusty's ears. "He's taught us so much. It's amazing how one moment of kindness changed all of our lives." Lucy was quiet, her eyes scanning the orchard as if trying to memorize every detail. She reached for her sketchbook, her hands moving instinctively to capture the scene. Rusty's gentle presence had always been a source of inspiration for her, and she wanted to create something that would honor his impact forever. As the family sat beneath a tree, enjoying the crisp air and the sweet taste of freshly picked apples, Rusty lay beside them, his head resting on Lucy's lap. She absent-mindedly stroked his fur, her mind drifting back to the countless memories they had shared. "Remember that time Rusty found that kitten in the backyard?" Lucy asked, a smile tugging at her lips. "He was so protective of her, like she was his own." Tom chuckled. "How could I forget? He wouldn't let her out of his sight for days. And when she finally found a home, Rusty sat by the door for hours, like he was waiting for her to come back." Claire laughed softly, the memory warming her heart. "Rusty has always had a way of bringing people and animals together. It's like he knows exactly what everyone needs." The family fell into a comfortable silence, the only sounds coming from the rustling leaves and the occasional bark of a distant dog. It was a moment of pure contentment, a reminder of how far they had come since that day by the roadside. Later that evening, as they returned home, Lucy excused herself to her room, where she began working on a new project. Inspired by their visit to the orchard, she decided to create a series of paintings that told Rusty's story, from the moment they found him to the countless lives he had touched. Each piece would capture a different chapter of his journey, a visual diary of the dog who had changed everything. As she painted, Lucy found herself reflecting on the deeper lessons Rusty had taught her. He had shown her the importance of compassion, of seeing the beauty in even the most difficult moments. He had reminded her that love wasn't just about grand gestures. It was in the small, quiet moments that made life truly meaningful. By the time she finished the first painting, the room was filled with a golden light, the setting sun casting long shadows across the walls. Lucy stepped back to admire her work, a vivid portrayal of Rusty lying in the grass, his eyes filled with the quiet wisdom that only he possessed. Weeks turned into months, and as winter approached, the family found themselves cherishing every moment with Rusty. His movements had slowed, and his once vibrant coat was now flecked with gray, but his spirit remained as strong as ever. One snowy afternoon, Lucy came home from the shelter with a surprise. She had brought a young, energetic dog named Max, who had been struggling to adjust to life at the shelter. "I thought Rusty might be able to help him," she explained, her eyes shining with hope. Rusty, ever the gentle teacher, welcomed Max with open paws. Over the next few weeks, Max transformed under Rusty's guidance, learning the quiet strength and boundless love that had always defined him. The family watched in awe as Rusty passed on his legacy, ensuring that his lessons would live on even after he was gone. As the days grew colder, the family began preparing for the holidays, their home filled with the scent of pine and cinnamon. Rusty, now content to rest by the fire, watched as Lucy hung ornaments on the tree. One by one, she placed her paintings of Rusty among the decorations, each one telling a story of love, resilience, and second chances. "This is the best Christmas tree we've ever had," Claire said, her voice thick with emotion. "Every ornament is a reminder of how much Rusty means to us." Tom placed a hand on Claire's shoulder, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "He's not just a dog, he's family, and we're so lucky to have him." On Christmas morning, the family gathered around the tree, exchanging gifts and sharing laughter. Rusty, always eager to be part of the festivities, wagged his tail as Lucy handed him a small package wrapped in red paper. "It's from all of us," Lucy said, her voice trembling with emotion. Rusty pawed at the package, revealing a soft, hand-knitted blanket with his name embroidered in gold. The family had worked on it together, each stitch a labor of love. Rusty nuzzled the blanket, his eyes filled with gratitude. It was a simple gift, but it spoke volumes about the bond they shared. A bond that had transformed not only their lives but the lives of so many others. As the year came to an end, the family reflected on the journey they had taken with Rusty. From a frightened, abandoned dog on the roadside to a beloved member of their family, Rusty had shown them the true meaning of love and resilience. His story was one of hope and redemption, a testament to the power of kindness and the unbreakable bonds that connected them all. As the new year rolled in, the family began a new chapter in their lives, one still deeply centered around Rusty. Though he was slowing down significantly, he remained the heart and soul of their home. His steady presence, his quiet encouragement, and his gentle love continued to touch everyone he met, including Max, the young and energetic rescue dog who had now become a part of their family. Max had grown under Rusty's guidance, learning to navigate the world with a newfound confidence. It was as if Rusty had passed down all the lessons he had learned over the years: how to be kind, how to trust, and how to embrace love after pain. Watching the two dogs together felt like watching a torch being passed, one generation to the next. One chilly morning, Lucy sat on the porch, sketchbook in hand, watching Rusty and Max play in the yard. Max darted back and forth, his youthful energy boundless, while Rusty trotted along at his own pace, keeping a watchful eye on the younger dog. Lucy smiled, her pencil capturing the moment with delicate lines. Rusty had become her muse, inspiring countless drawings and paintings that now filled the walls of their home. Each piece told a story, from the day they had found him on the roadside to the countless lives he had touched since. As she worked, Lucy couldn't help but think about the future. She knew Rusty wouldn't be with them forever, and the thought brought a lump to her throat. But she also knew that his legacy would live on, not just in the artwork she created but in the lessons he had taught her family. That afternoon, the family decided to take Rusty and Max on a trip to their favorite hiking trail. The crisp winter air was invigorating, and the trail was covered in a light dusting of snow that crunched beneath their boots. Rusty moved more slowly than he used to, but he seemed to savor every step, his nose twitching as he sniffed the cold, clean air. As they walked, Claire and Tom shared stories of their adventures with Rusty over the years. "Remember the time he saved that rabbit from the storm?" Tom said, laughing. "He wouldn't let us rest until we brought it inside. And don't forget the time he helped us find Lucy's missing shoe," Claire added. "I still don't know how he managed to sniff it out in that pile of leaves." Lucy listened, her heart swelling with pride. Rusty had always been more than just a pet. He was a hero in his own quiet way, always putting others before himself. The trail led to a clearing with a stunning view of the valley below. The family spread out a blanket, settling in for a picnic. Rusty lay down beside Lucy, his head resting on her lap as she fed him small pieces of cheese and apple. Max bounded around the clearing, chasing after snowflakes that drifted down from the sky. Tom pulled out his camera, capturing the moment in a series of photos. "This is perfect," he said, lowering the camera to look at his family. "I couldn't ask for anything more." Claire smiled, her eyes misty as she looked at Rusty. "He's given us so much," she said softly, "more than we could ever repay." Lucy nodded, her fingers running through Rusty's fur. "He's taught us how to love," she said simply. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the family packed up their belongings and started the journey back home. Rusty walked beside Lucy, his steps slower but steady. She held his leash loosely, letting him set the pace. When they reached the car, Lucy helped Rusty into the back seat, arranging his blanket to make him comfortable. Max hopped in beside him, curling up with his head resting on Rusty's shoulder. It was a sight that made Lucy's heart ache with a mix of love and sadness, a reminder of the bond the two dogs shared. Back at home, Lucy retreated to her room to work on her latest project. She was creating a series of illustrations that told the story of Rusty's life, each piece capturing a different moment of his journey. As she worked, she thought about the impact Rusty had had on her own life. Before Rusty, Lucy had often felt unsure of herself, her artistic talents hidden behind a wall of self-doubt. But Rusty had changed that. He had shown her the beauty in imperfection, the strength in vulnerability, and the power of love. Through him, she had found her voice as an artist and as a person. In the days that followed, Lucy threw herself into her work, determined to finish the illustrations before Rusty's birthday. She wanted to create something that would honor his legacy, something that would remind her family of all the joy he had brought into their lives. The finished pieces were displayed in the living room on Rusty's special day, each one telling a different chapter of his story. From the moment they found him on the roadside to the countless lives he had touched, the illustrations were a testament to the incredible journey they had shared. As the family gathered to celebrate, Rusty lay on his blanket by the fire, his tail wagging as he watched the people he loved most in the world. He may not have understood the significance of the day, but he could feel the love that surrounded him, and that was all that mattered. The seasons changed, and with them, Rusty's energy began to wane. His once vigorous runs turned into slow, measured walks, and his playful barks softened into contented sighs. The family adjusted to his pace, cherishing every moment they had with him. Each member took turns ensuring Rusty felt loved and comfortable, even as the signs of age became more apparent. Lucy, ever the artist, took to sketching Rusty during their quiet afternoons together. She found beauty in his graying fur, in the wisdom that seemed to shine in his eyes. Each stroke of her pencil was a tribute to the years he had spent with them, a celebration of the life they had shared. One particularly warm spring evening, the family decided to gather in the backyard for dinner. Tom set up the grill while Claire prepared a spread of Rusty's favorite treats. Lucy brought out her sketchbook, eager to capture the peaceful scene of her family under the setting sun. Rusty lay on a cushioned blanket in the center of it all, his tail wagging softly as he watched Max chase fireflies around the yard. Despite his slowing pace, Rusty still radiated the same calm strength that had endeared him to them all those years ago. As they ate and laughed, Tom raised a toast. To Rusty, he said, holding up his glass, "The heart of our family. Here's to all the joy you've brought us, old boy." The family echoed the sentiment, their voices warm with love and gratitude. Rusty barked softly in response, his tail wagging a little faster as if he understood. That night, as the family settled in, Lucy stayed up a little longer, sitting by Rusty's side. She stroked his fur gently, her heart full of emotions she couldn't quite put into words. Rusty looked up at her, his eyes filled with the same unwavering love he had shown her from the very beginning. "You've done so much for us, Rusty," she whispered. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Rusty nuzzled her hand, his way of telling her that he felt the same. In that quiet moment, Lucy realized just how much Rusty had shaped their lives. Not just as a pet, but as a teacher, a protector, and a friend. As the months passed, the family continued to celebrate Rusty in small, meaningful ways. They took him on short walks to his favorite park, baked special dog-friendly treats, and spent hours simply sitting with him, soaking in his presence. Each day felt like a gift, a chance to repay the unconditional love he had given them. Max, too, seemed to understand the importance of cherishing Rusty. The younger dog often curled up beside him, his boundless energy tempered by a quiet respect for his elder. It was as if Max was learning from Rusty, even in his final days, carrying forward the legacy of love and kindness that had defined Rusty's life. One crisp autumn morning, Lucy woke up early and found Rusty lying by the window, his gaze fixed on the golden leaves falling outside. He looked peaceful, almost serene, as if he were taking in every detail of the world he had loved so deeply. Lucy sat down beside him, resting her head against his side. "Good morning, buddy," she said softly. Rusty's tail wagged faintly, and he let out a contented sigh. In that moment, Lucy made a silent promise to carry Rusty's lessons with her for the rest of her life. She promised to love fiercely, to live fully, and to find beauty in even the smallest moments, just as Rusty had taught her. When the time finally came to say goodbye, the family gathered around Rusty, their hearts heavy but full of gratitude for the years they had shared. They held him close, whispering words of love and thanks, their tears mingling with their smiles as they remembered all the joy he had brought into their lives. Lucy held his paw, her voice steady as she spoke. "You'll always be with us, Rusty. In everything we do, in every piece of art I create, in every act of kindness we show, you'll be there." Rusty's tail wagged one last time, a final gesture of the love that had defined his life. In the days that followed, the house felt quieter without Rusty's presence. But his memory lived on in every corner of their home, in the photos that adorned the walls, in the drawings Lucy continued to create, and in the stories they shared about him. Max stepped into the role of the family's protector and companion, his youthful spirit tempered by the wisdom Rusty had passed down. He carried Rusty's legacy with him, a living reminder of the love that had shaped their lives. On what would have been Rusty's birthday, the family gathered in the backyard to celebrate his life. They planted a tree in his honor, its roots symbolizing the deep and lasting impact he had made on their hearts. Lucy placed one of her drawings beneath the tree, a final tribute to the dog who had been her greatest muse. As they stood together, watching the tree sway gently in the breeze, Lucy felt a sense of peace. Rusty may have been gone, but his love would always be a part of them, guiding them through every moment of their lives.